Hello, welcome to the Ashley Dillard Show. This evening I have Dr. Sonja Pollard-Mitchell with me. She's a professor at Hampton University, and today it's a Sunday evening, so I really appreciate her taking the time out of her busy schedule to meet with me. And
no problem. No problem.
Okay.
It's not so busy today.
Yeah,
it's a Sunday, just grading papers and finishing dinner and things like that, so it's not too bad.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So what do you think about the weather outside?
Actually, today is good.
Mm-hmm.
Today is good, and actually, if it gets a little colder, I'll be happy. I'm a fall baby, born in September, and I like the not too cold, but when it's too hot, I don't like it.
Yeah.
So I can breathe. I can open up my windows and have a nice, breeze coming in.
Yeah.
And not have to run the air conditioner, run up the utility bills. So it's always a plus. So I love it.
That's good. Yeah, because last week it was raining every day.
Yes, every
I thought
day.
it was never going to stop.
I know. Some people needed it. Some people wanted it. Like my husband, he's not a farmer, but he has a big garden in the back, so he loved the rain. Whereas most of us were complaining. He was like, "No, let it rain." Let it rain.
Yeah, I also like to thank you for allowing me to come see your beautiful home. Well, it's nice.
No problem. Thank you.
It's so pretty. I like this picture.
Thank you. Actually, this is the same picture. Have you ever watched The Cosby Show?
Yeah.
Bill Cosby has it. Yeah, they have the same picture.
Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of like why I got it. When I saw that and I saw it when I was in the store, I said, yes, I get this one.
Okay. Well, would you start off by telling me a little bit about yourself?
Okay. Let's see. A little bit about myself. There's so much to tell. Let's see. Where can I start? I am a professor, as you said, at Hampton University, and I've been there for almost 20 years. And, 20 years would be next year. I started school, my undergraduate, let me go back. I'm from Ohio originally, actually born in D.C., which is the reason why I went back to Howard University, because I wanted to go back to D.C. It was something, I never applied to any other school. This is another thing that I don't really tell too many people, especially my students. And when I talk to high school students, I applied to one college. That's it, Howard University. So what would have happened had I not gotten into Howard University? I don't know. I don't even want to think about it, but that's the only school. So I'm from D.C. originally. That's where I was born. We moved from there when I was about 5 years old to Toledo, Ohio, and then I spent my time pretty much on the bus and the plane going from Ohio to North Carolina, where my grandparents lived over the summers, and then from there to D.C. and then back to Ohio. So I traveled. I was a traveling baby. I don't have brothers and sisters, so I would go to North Carolina so I could be with family, and my grandmother was the one who I was trying to get to and who I didn't want to leave. So that was that's how I spent my earlier years. So, another thing that's interesting. I did go to school in Ohio, but one year, my 11th grade year, I went to school in North Carolina. That's where I met my husband. He wasn't my husband then, but he was going to be my husband. He actually told me he was going to marry me. And I said, I'm going to college. I'm not getting married. I don't know what you're talking about. He said, no, I'm going to marry you. So I said, okay. So as the story went, I went back to Ohio to graduate from high school. When I left there, I went to Howard University. And my husband my boyfriend, or the guy who was going to be my husband, we talked back and forth, and he would come visit me, and I go visit him, but we weren't ready. I was like, nah, I'm not ready to get married. But he kept saying, well, whenever you're ready, just let me know. So one day, things weren't going too well for me at Howard. I mean, my grades were good, but I just didn't really, I don't know, things were just not going too good. So my roommate and I decided that we wanted to move off campus. So we moved off campus, we got an apartment. Once we got the apartment, then we made a decision and decided we didn't want to go to college anymore. I don't tell my students that because it's not a good thing, but it actually turned out good for me and for her too. But we decided we didn't want to do it, so we actually stopped going to school, didn't tell our parents. They continued to pay our rent. They continued to send us money, but we never told because we were scared. Eventually, we had to tell. So we told, and then they were like, okay, well, no problem. Just come on home. So I went back home, went to Ohio. That didn't last too long because, I don't know about you. You're in college. Do you like going back home to stay for a long period of time after you've had your freedom? No, absolutely not. So it didn't last too long. So what I did was, remember the guy I told you I met in the 11th grade? I called him. And guess what I did? I said, do you want to marry me? And he said, yes. I said, cool, yes. So I I decided I was going to go to North Carolina. Well, he was not in North Carolina then. He was in Virginia, actually here in Hampton. So he wanted me to come here. So I packed my bags and got in my car and headed here. And then I got scared. I said, I can't do this. I can't get married. I'm only 23 years. Well, actually, I was 22 years old then. So instead of going to where he was here in Hampton, I stopped in D.C. and I stayed at my aunt's house. And then I, would come back and forth and visit him. And then by the time I turned 23, I said, okay, if you're serious, then you need to give me a ring. So Beyonce put a ring on it. I did that first. I did that before she did. So I told him, I said, I want a ring. This is the very ring that he gave me. This one right here is the one he gave me. And we set a date, and we got married that following January. So I was 23 years old. Now, the one thing that was missing, college. I got married, but I didn't finish college. So there was a void. Got married. We had my daughter, who's now 26 years old. We had my son, who's now 25. Somewhere in between that time, I was like, no, this is not working. It's not working. I need to go back to school. So I started at Howard, and of course I couldn't go back to Howard because Howard was in D.C. and we were living here in Hampton. So I thought maybe I'd go to Hampton University, but guess what I found out? There was something called tuition. We didn't have any money. Tuition was not then what it is now. But we couldn't afford for me to go to Hampton University. So my husband did some research, and he found a school that was on the military base, and it was a distance learning program, St. Leo College. It's university now. So they accepted all of my credits from Howard University, and I transferred there. I finished my undergrad, and I was afraid to stop. So I continued on, and I got my master's in business administration from Hampton University. I was again afraid to stop, so I went to Old Dominion University, and I got a PhD in international business and marketing. And from there, somewhere along, I think after I finished at Hampton, I started teaching. And that's when I decided that was really what I wanted to do. I couldn't take my MBA and go off to New York like everybody else, or go off to the big city and make a lot of money, because what did I have? A husband and 2 children. So that was a little different. I had a husband and 2 children. Other people were like fresh out of college, and they were able to move, and they were more mobile than I was. So I ended up starting to teach at Hampton. I also taught at St. Leo. I also taught at Old Dominion University. But out of the 3, the one that I liked the most was Hampton University. I know you're at Norfolk State, but I really enjoyed Hampton, and that's where I am now.
All right. So what was the major differences between the universities? And first of all, I should say, what made you decide to be a professor? How did you know that you wanted to do that?
Actually, to be totally honest with you, I started out, I worked in accounting. I didn't like that because it required me to sit behind a desk with a calculator, a regular calculator, and a pencil. You all don't know anything about that. I mean, the old-fashioned calculators. We didn't have computers like they have now. So I didn't like it. I didn't like the fact that we didn't have the contact with people. I'm a people person. I like to talk. I don't know if you know that, but I like to talk. So I decided to try teaching. And I applied for, and they allowed me to teach at St. Leo. Once I started teaching for St. Leo, I then enrolled in the PhD program at Old Dominion. And then as a requirement, we had to teach. And I started teaching there, and I enjoyed it. And then I got a phone call from Hampton University asking me to come and teach a course for them. So I was teaching at St. Leo, Old Dominion, and Hampton University all at the same time, and working on a PhD and 2 babies and a husband.
Wow.
Yeah. So what I decided was that I really enjoyed it. It's something about it. It's just what I did. It's just me. It's who I am. It's like it took me not really as long as it takes some people, but I found my niche. I found something that I enjoyed, and people seemed to respond. And I felt like what I really felt like I could do at Hampton was keep students from making the same mistake that I made at Howard, if that makes any sense. So the same type of school, the same type of students, and me, I don't really share too much, but enough to try to help them not make the same mistake that I made. So even though, like I said, it turned out okay for me, it doesn't always turn out like that. My roommate, she ended up going back to school too. She got her degree, a master's in nursing. So she was, we turned out okay. But like I said, it's not what I recommend.
Yeah. You don't want to give any students that idea I can just keep getting money from my parents and go back like her.
And then have a Prince Charming waiting, like my husband was.
You were very fortunate that to happen. Yes. So. It's like you had a plan in a sense, like you knew what you wanted to do.
Yeah. And then I had my dad. My dad wanted me to go to Tennessee State, by the way. I should have mentioned that. because I did run track when I was in high school, but I wasn't very good. You know, I was okay, but I mean, I knew there were people better. But he wanted me to go to Tennessee State and run track, and I didn't. But then when I started back to school, when I finished my undergraduate studies, he kind of kept pushing and encouraging. Why don't you keep going? Keep going. Let me help. Whatever you need me to do to help, I'll help. Just keep going. Just keep going. And I remember when I finished my PhD, we had our, the graduation party. I made little comments, and then my dad said, I have one thing to say. And I said, what? And he said, can I retire now? And I said, yeah, you can retire, because he didn't want to retire until he knew that we were finished with school and everything was straight, and that we could do whatever we needed to do to take care of ourselves. So I appreciate him for that. He died 3 years ago. Okay. So at least he got a chance to see me. I mean, I finished my PhD years ago, but still he was able to see me finish that. Mm-hmm. So he was always in the corner.
That's good. So if you don't mind me asking, what was his first reaction when he found out that you stopped going to school?
If I remember correctly, he didn't really say too much. Okay. Because actually when I went back home, well, the other part I didn't tell you, I never really stopped going to school, because when I went back to Toledo, I enrolled in, it was a place called Control Data Institute, and they worked on computers, and they were, I don't know, they did a lot of working on computers, teaching you, not programming necessarily, but the hard foundation, the hardware, the computer hardware. So I went there. As soon as I got back to Toledo, within weeks I had enrolled there. So I never really stopped learning. It was just I was taking a different path. I finished that program. It was a certificate program. I finished it, but I didn't like it. Mm-hmm. So once, everything happened so quickly. I then, like I said, called the guy that I eventually married. Yeah. And once my dad saw that, I wasn't just going to be a deadbeat just hanging out, not doing anything, he was okay. He supported me.
That's good.
He did.
All right. So how was it raising your kids and doing all of that at one time? How did you manage your time, and who watched them? How did that work?
God watched over all of us, because I turn around right now. Sometimes I do like this. I turn around and I'm trying to look to see who's behind me, to see who helped propel me. Mm-hmm. And if it not for the grace of God, I would not have been able to do it, because I don't remember. Mm-hmm. I just kept going. I don't know. I just kept going. They were babies. They spent many times with my husband and I going to the library, because we would go if I had a program that I needed to run at ODU, and we didn't have what you guys have now. I had to put the information into whatever this computer, send it to a server, go over there and get the printout, and then read it and then type it up. So it would be like 2 o'clock in the morning sometime when I finished doing what I had to do. We get the babies up, put them in the backseat of the car, drive from Hampton to ODU, get the printout, come back, they go back to bed, and I then would do what I needed to do, get up in the morning and start all over again. So they were destined to go to college, because they didn't know anything different. They grew up watching us do that. So so it was hard. Yeah. I don't encourage that either. I want young people to go to school, continue going. I'll tell you the same thing. Don't stop until you're finished, and then go on with your life. Because like I said, I did it, but I'm not the normal. I wouldn't say it's normal. I wouldn't recommend it. It was very hard.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I think that's definitely going, because I know that your daughter is in pharmacy school at HU or Hampton University.
Yes.
And your son just graduated last year from getting his MBA.
Right. They both graduated from the University of Virginia. They're a year apart in age. So she graduated 1 year, then he graduated the next from high school, then the same thing from UVA, and then she went to the doctor of pharmacy program at Hampton University. She enrolled there. She's finished 3 years. She's in her 4th year now, doing her rotations. So she will be finished in May. And he finished a 2-year MBA program at Hampton May of this year.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah. So that's good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot.
It is.
My husband works at NASA, and he has a couple master's degrees, and he manages money. He's a financial analyst at NASA. So that's what we do. We go to school, and we encourage others to do the exact same thing. And anything that we can do to help along the way is what we do. One of my students, I have to share this, one of my former students put something on Facebook. I don't know. I have my iPad right here. I have an iPad.
Okay.
Yeah, and I have an iPhone. Yes, I'm kind of with it.
I like your case.
My case. It's a Delta Sigma Theta case. I have to tell you this story too. When I was at Howard, I don't know how we are on time, if we're doing okay or not, but I just want to tell this one story. When I was at Howard, I wanted to pledge Delta. When I went to college, when I went to North Carolina my high school year, the other part I didn't tell you, there was a girl next door, and she was in college. She went to Howard University. She was an accounting major, and she was pledging Delta. I said, I want to go to Howard University, I want to major in accounting, and I want to pledge Delta just like her. So that's what I almost did. I didn't pledge because when I got ready to pledge, I didn't know, because I made a mistake. Another thing I like to tell my students, I dropped a class this semester before, which put me in a part-time status, and I had to be full-time the semester before in order to be eligible to pledge. So I couldn't. So all of my friends pledged, I didn't, and I said, okay. After they finished, and then the next year, they said, well, you can pledge now. And I said, no, I'll just wait, and I'll do grad, because it wouldn't have been the same, because I wanted to do it and be there with them. So as soon as I finished my undergraduate degree, I found the chapter here, and I pledged right away. So I got a chance to do that. So I did pretty much fulfill all of the dreams I had as a little girl in terms of going to college, going to Howard, majoring in accounting, and pledging Delta. So one of my very, 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 we call each other BFFs. My BFF, she gave me this as a gift. And actually, it's an iPad cover.
All right.
Yeah, people think it's a book, so I don't have to worry about anybody trying to take it from me.
Yeah, it looks personalized.
Yeah, it is, and I love it. Yeah.
I know people always like, where'd you get that from?
They do, and they want to get one too. And it's like, I'm sorry. She has one, and I have one, so that's what makes it special.
It's the BFF thing.
BFF thing.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, I'm trying to see. You told me a lot. You shared a lot with me. I didn't know.
Yeah, I have probably a whole lot more I could share. I can tell you what I teach at Hampton. I teach undergraduates, and currently I'm teaching a class in our doctoral program. We have a PhD in business, and I'm teaching a marketing class online. But I usually teach seniors. I teach marketing research. I teach advertising management. This semester I'm teaching a principles of marketing class, which is juniors and seniors, which has juniors and sophomores. Okay. That's different because I'm used to seniors. So, but I enjoy it, and I think they enjoy me. The part I was going to tell you was the Facebook story. One of my former students put on Facebook. She said there was this professor who. I wish I had time, I'd find it and I could read it to you verbatim, but she said that it was a professor who really motivated her and challenged her, and when she thought and felt like she was going to give up, she had a problem with math, and she just didn't think she could do it. And so she went on and on talking about this professor, and then at the end she said it was me. Aww. Yeah, it was like, okay, kind of trying to catch myself here, because it was really kind of emotional. Because now she's gone on, she graduated, she got her MBA, she lives in New York, she has an excellent job, and guess what type of job she's doing? One that requires her to use her math skills. Okay. Yeah, so something that she didn't think she could do is what she ended up doing. She graduated about maybe 12 years ago. Okay. So she's actually doing something that she never thought she could. So that kind of, makes me know that it's all worth it. Okay. So,
that's good. Yeah. So, what else do you do at Hampton University besides teach?
Well, we're required to do research and write grants.
And then you also was the dean of your department.
Chair.
I
was the chair of the Department of Marketing for about 10 years on and off. And my last appointment as chair was 3 years ago. Okay. Well, maybe 4. When my dad got sick, I had to spend more time going back and forth to Ohio, so it didn't allow me the opportunity to be as committed as what I needed to be for such a responsibility as a department chair. Okay. So I asked to step down then, and I have not resumed the position. I kind of enjoy what I'm doing right now, working on the grant over the summer and having more of a hands-on with the students. Okay. So I missed that before, and now I'm allowed to kind of have that hands-on and one-on-one, and not just be the administrator or principal. That they have to go to when things don't work out right. So I enjoy it.
That's good. I'm so sorry. We've been talking longer than 20 minutes.
That's okay. That's okay. I know you told me in the very beginning 15 minutes, but like I told you, I don't know if you remember, because I just talk a lot. And you asked me before why I enjoy what I do. It's because I get a chance to do exactly what I just did with you. You know, I engage you, we talk, I enjoy talking, I enjoy sharing. So that gave me an opportunity to do that. So I'm sorry. Let me apologize for going over your time that you were allotted, but I did enjoy talking to you.
Okay. And like I said, you're a very interesting person to talk to. I didn't know any of that about you. Like some of the stories, the personal stories, like I knew the general information, but I feel like I know you now more on a personal level than just a professor.
Yes.
And I just want to know, is there like anything else that you would like to share?
You know what? I could share a whole lot more, but in the interest of time, I'll just say that I enjoy teaching. I enjoy giving back. I enjoy the fact that, I appreciate the fact that God used me the way that He did and didn't let me stop when I stopped. So that I appreciate. So I can just probably end by saying that I let God use me. He's still using me. I appreciate Him. And I appreciate my dad. He's one of my dad and my grandmother, my mother too, but my dad and my grandmother were two of the driving forces in my life, and they're both gone now. But I do appreciate them and everything that they did for me, and as supportive of me as they always were. I appreciate that. So to end, I would just say thank you.
Thank you, and I appreciate it because I know Sunday is one of your days off.
Yes.
Because I know teaching is pretty much every day you do something with it, but I feel like most of the time Sunday is a down day for somebody, and I just really want to appreciate it.
Sort of. It's like we're getting ready for the week. You know, we don't really have downtime because we're always thinking and always, you know, trying to figure out what else we might be able to do. But it's okay. I enjoy it. I enjoy letting me talk a little bit more in front of a camera too. So that's good.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
And have a good day.
You too.